Hey rail fans, it's Train Guy here again, and it's been a little while, but lots of new toys to play with. So I can also hear myself echoing a second there, just hang on. Yep, lots of new toys to play with, so I thought, yeah, why not do a little stream. It's been a while. So focus of tonight. It's not going to be an epic long one, because I think there are going to be loads of people streaming this, and I think there's an official stream later on as well. So I'm just fitting in a wee quickie because I've got some time. But we'll have a little look at the 363. Interesting little machine, but I'm really enjoying it. So we want reverse ignored. I'm not going to do any of the scenarios or the stuff like that. I tend not to with brand new content anyway, because that's where the cool stuff is, isn't it? Spoilers and shit. Timetable means I don't have to go through any of the startup crap as well usually, and again that's probably something that they'll do later on in their official stream, and it's probably better that the people who made it do that than me kind of still guessing what everything does. Summer's day. So there it is. Funny looking little thing. Doesn't look that different at first glance from the 204 that we have on main spec art. Then you look a little closer and you realise it's nothing like it. What we'll do is... no, I thought I had done that earlier on. Let's just have a look. Do any of these go down to... I haven't properly looked at where all these goes. I don't know if any of them go down into the wee bits of sideline and stuff that we've never been down before. Oh, maybe. But what we'll do is we're going to do the second one on the list, although I haven't got the medal for it. Hey Samson, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, been good. Very busy, hence no streams for a long time, but good, man, yeah. So let's see, where were we going to go? We were going to do the second one, which I did actually do earlier on. Medal didn't register. I think I actually switched the console off before I'd finished shutting down the thingy properly. Let's get loaded up and going. Right. I hope you're all well there, Samson, and of course the silent lurkers as well. Hope everybody's faring all right. At the rate that we're getting new stuff to play with in Train Sim, I know that I'm certainly all right. Even if I have mixed feelings about some of it, but. I shall talk about those as and when I actually do something with them. So here we go. Early morning, summer's morning, bringing log wagons out of the sidings into Bull Yard. So you might remember from the vanilla RSN, you could pull those log trains around from Hagen just to the yard around the back of the freight loop. This is us cutting and sorting these things out. Let's just get tore into it. So we'll take our time a little bit and have a little look around the cab, because we're not too time critical on this. I've done it early and there is a bit of time sitting waiting around at signals and things. So this is sort of like the light panel, the electric panel, that sort of thing. We'll turn the front lights on. Don't need the rears. Don't even know what a stem light is, but we'll have some instrument lights. Stuff along the top here you only need for actually starting the engine from cold and dark. And these are the start stop switches. Wiper controls, won't need those today. No idea what the stuff up here does. That's your speedo. This thing here is your kind of your your power gauge thing. It's a really, really, really weird system on this train, which we'll get into in a minute. Don't think we need any other lights. The handbrake's released. We'll jump down and have a little look. Dull enough that we need the flashlight. So it's one of these things. It uses con rods. I'm not sure whether those are part of the outright part. I think those are part of the outright drive system, unlike the Class 08 and the Class 09, where they're more for balance than anything else. This seems to be connected straight up to a transmission in there. So I think that is where the drive comes from, which is cool. You've got the auto couplers here. You still have to get out to couple things up, but you can actually release them with the flick of a switch from inside the cab now, which is kind of nice. That's actually... Oh, I think I'm actually standing on a live railway line rather than a siding. Oops. Oh no, that is a siding. I'm sure that is still that's like the through line. No, we don't want to give up control. So you'll notice... Help, I cannot get back up. We have to go to the steps. And you have to climb up here, and then you have to kind of climb up there. And it looks kind of clunky and jerky probably, but it actually is quite a convincing effect. So we'll sit down in the driver's seat. Let me just get rid of that little white dot in front of me, because I don't like. Now, before we forget, we're going to put the gear selector. I don't know what difference it makes, if any. I'm going to put it into shunting. And this thing here is the master key, which is now on. Now, if I attempt to operate the reverser, you'll see still nothing happens, because you have to tell it which of these two sets of controls we're using. It doesn't know that yet. So you use this little button here, and that's now engaged the controls on this side of the cab. So I can put the reverser to forward. The brake levers will now work. Brake levers should always be returned to the hold position for the direct, and the let me just find the right click spot. The handle off position on the driver's brake when you're swapping over what side you're using. If you leave one of those handles in any other position, you could get a fright when you tried to put your brakes on. As I learned the hard way earlier, which was nice. I haven't had a proper look around for all the circuit breakers, so I'm using the keyboard just now to turn my safeties on. And if anybody knows what this little gauge thing up on the nose is all about, please do let me know. I'm intrigued by that. But now that we're more or less set up to go, we'll just have a quick check of this. Now we're actually backing up, so I've got everything set up to go forward, and made myself look like a right arse because we're going the other way. So what we'll do, making sure that the handles are still in the right positions. I promise we will move shortly. I'm not going to keep doing this for much longer. Deselect. You don't actually need to do that because it will automatically override when you select this one. Now there's no seat. What you do is you find the click spot and you stand. But the reason for being on this side is so that we can see the signals clearer. And if we need to, we can lean out the window to see the ground signal on this side. But there's only a chair over on the driver's side. So from the standing position, never done this in train sim before, although I think you can actually do it on, you can sort of sit with the seat up on the London Underground train, I think. Just check everything's released, that's fine. You don't need to leave the direct handle in the fully released position as long as there's no pressure in the brake cylinder. Then it can be in release. So the train brake is released. Let's give it a little bit of power. Tell you what, let's make sure we've got the reverser pointing the right way first. So we've now switched into reverse. And now we'll go in the right direction. So it's a really weird sort of incremental throttle system that this thing uses. Takes a bit of getting used to it, and honestly I don't know that I can even do that good a job of explaining it. I think on the watch the Dovetail live stream later on, because I'm absolutely certain we're going to play with the 363 on that. All I can say is that it's like everything else on the German railways. At first glance it seems needlessly and overly complicated until you suddenly realise it has an absolutely simple logic behind it, and once you follow that, it's a piece of piss to work. The brakes are manual lapping, so the brakes are just like the 101, just with different, they're called different things on that little bit of the HUD that tells you what's happening. It's not called, you know, full lap, manual lap. There's just a lap setting. I think they read more like the settings on the American manual lap brakes. I've still got pressure in the brake somewhere. It's very easy to not notice you've got pressure in the brake, and the engine can actually overcome a fair bit of braking pressure. But if you let the throttle out, when you throttle down, it's one of these ones that when you press down on the throttle, it returns it all the way back to the idle position. But instead of going straight to zero, it does what's called a run down. So if you're at full throttle and you pull it back, it will start to run down to zero. If at any point you pop it back into the hold position, it will just stop going down at whatever power you've selected. Again, this just sounds like word soup when I'm saying it, but it makes sense once you've actually fiddled around with it for a while. Samson did his first train stream at Twitch. Oh, a couple of days ago. Well done, man. Twitch still not something I've actually got, even as an app to watch stuff off on my phone or anything. I should really get with the times. Hey, too fast. Did we derail? Don't think we derailed. No, it let us have it. Right. So what basically happened there, folks, is I was reading a message that we're having a little chuckle to myself, because Samson's just told me that he told someone it wasn't hard to have TPZB on and had an emergency stop, and I was so busy laughing at that I crashed into a train. So there you go. Karma. Who says there's no such thing? Although I didn't actually out-derail it, so we're all good. So what you need to do at this point, we'll just pretend absolutely nothing happened, is you need to lower the coupler bar. It's early in the morning and we're nice and out of way, so nobody saw that. We're good. We're good. But manual couple, you have to get out to couple them up, but once it's done, we'll do the rest of it in cab. Just swing ourselves round. So we're going the other way this time, so I'm just going to check that the brake levers are handle off and hold. That's fine. Deselect this set of controls and select this set of controls, and we can have a seat this time, and just operate the handles to check that you're getting movement from them. Pop the reverser back into forward and get rid of the last of the brakes. I think it's my direct brake actually that might be causing the problem. Oh, those brake levers still on slightly. No? Getting unwanted pressure in my brakes. Oh, there we go, it's dropping off now. It's maybe one of these ones that sort of uses engine power to pump air into something, or maybe I'm just making shit up and I still don't really know how this all works. I'm also actually finding it a little odd driving with a pad again, because I've been driving almost exclusively with the keyboard the last few weeks. So we've got a clear shunt signal there, the ground signal, it's fine. We're just going to get a little move on. We don't want to hang around because we are actually crossing the live main line. And there are a couple of bits where we have to hold signals and stuff because morning commuter traffic and freight traffic is going to be passing through. So I'm trying to remember the sequence how this all goes. I think we get a clean pass on the first one, then we go back and get another bit of the train, then we have to sit at a signal for a few minutes. A couple of things will go whizzing by. So what you have to do with this is you kind of have to find the power setting that you want to either hold the speed you're doing or to accelerate. And then if you're accelerating, as you get to the speed you want, it's not a simple case of just turning the throttle down. You have to kind of, you release it, it begins to run itself down, and then you have to try and catch it where you want it. It's going to take a bit of getting used to it. It's a really, like I say, it's a really weird feeling system the first time you use it, but it is a fairly sort of, you know, straightforward system once you understand what it's doing. Brakes on this thing are a bit, they're a bit jelly. They're a bit, they're once they bite, they're all right, but they take a little while to dig in. And if you let the brake cylinder pressure go over about 3.5, you're likely to lock up. So you need to sort of brake early and brake gently with this. Kind of over baked it a little bit and stopped short. You're going to stop long and stop short all the time when you start using this thing, just while you get the hang of the unconventional throttling braking arrangements. But with that said, it's probably the most hands-on shunter of the lot, even more so than the other one that you can, what's it, the 204, the one that you can sort of swap ends in and stuff like that. Just make sure you pull the front of the train over the stopping point. So to uncouple, don't need to get out the cab and you don't need to use the flying camera. You just need to use this button here. Push it back to uncouple the rear, push it forward to uncouple the front. Simple. So that's those log wagons uncoupled now. There we are. Hello Eddie's Adventures, welcome mate. Good to see you. We're just having a little play with the new 363. Samson says, I think I got the American signals on Peninsula figured out now though. Well, you're doing better than me, man, because I'm still sort of just working on if it's yellow I should slow down a bit. But yeah, no, it's once the American ones, they're another sort of one that on the surface of it they look really, really stupidly complicated, but once you learn what bits you can ignore, it turns out they're really, really not that difficult at all. Biggest issue I've got with them is the sighting distance. I've had issues on Long Island Railroad simply because they're really close together and you can't see them clearly until it's too late. Just stick your head out the window for a while. See, I like all this, the grime and the dirt and the muck on this. It feels like it's a proper, you know, this is a working train. None of your namby-pamby, set it and forget it cruise control rubbish. Thank you very much. This is a dirty old train for dirty old... No, wait. Never mind. So red with a couple of white ones. We can go through that at a reduced speed. You don't have to worry about permission from signal boxes or any such nonsense. I probably should pick it up a little bit though, because I think there is some mainline traffic due through in a few minutes. It's quite easy to just sort of dawdle along in this thing and not be going quite as quickly as you should. I certainly have found. I don't know why it feels. It's not like it feels like it's going particularly fast. It just. Oh, so I've tripped something there. There is something that you can pop that seems to set the brakes off. I don't know if it's something tied into the PZB or what, that when it detects a surge of power that's going to take you over a speed limit or whatever, it pops the brakes like that. And once the wheels have locked up on this thing, it's actually it's a little tricky to unlock them sometimes. So we've gone a little bit further than we meant to, but that's quite okay. Like I said, the brakes, your braking on this is going to take a while to figure it, because it is a little bit different. Let's just get ourselves back into the cab. Set the direct brake to hold. Right, we'll make sure it's in the handle off position. What's that thing there? Fine control valve. Ooh, that sounds good. Transfer the power to this side. Find the click spot. There we go. Stand on the second man's seat. So now we should have... Yeah, we can operate the brakes fine from here. If the brakes don't work, it's because the handles on the other side haven't been set properly. So we've got a red one up ahead. We better give the signal box a shout. No route available. Oh. This one's the 363 is okay because it's a little stubby short arse at one end and it's got a long hood at the other. This is basically like if somebody said to you, right, imagine a Class 08 but over-engineered by the Germans. This is exactly what you would imagine you'd get, and I mean that in a good way, by the way. This is exactly what you would expect. This is like the 08. It's the other one. It's the 204 that's you never know what way it's pointing. Right, so I'm trying to be mindful. I think the brakes came slamming on. I've got a feeling there is some sort of mechanism. If you're accelerating too aggressively, it disconnects everything and what have you. I've popped that a few times this afternoon because I wanted to see how. What I was actually trying to do was get it up to a rate of knots to see how all this running gear looked, because can you imagine that with Train Sim World 2020's blurry wheelie effects? That would look horrible, but yeah, that's kind of promising. I can't help feeling that this is a bit like the big bonfire in Rhine Austin. Remember where we all sort of realised, hang on a minute, they're just practicing their particle effects and their fire and shit. This is something else, I think, that's part of their build-up to steam engines. If they can get all this crap down around the wheels, the conrods and that looking good at low speeds, then they can build up to bigger and better. That's my theory anyway. Love a good. So I managed to pop this unknown safety system, which I'm assuming that's what it is, a couple of times today already. With a bit of luck, they'll talk about some of that stuff during the stream, which I think they've got timetabled for later on. Right, I'm kind of dragging my arse here a wee bit. I mean, we should. Maybe get a bit of a move on. We're actually, this is the bit, or I think it is, we're going to go down into a little side and couple up to another rake of wagons, and then we're going to sit there for a few minutes while a couple of early morning trains out of Wagon go by. You can't afford to take your time in here. It's not a particularly tight schedule that you're being expected to keep, I don't think. Coast on up to the signal. Can't remember how far it is to the back of the train. You need to be basically, the train needs to be over the invisible stopping point. Which of course you can't turn on if you like. I just prefer not to have it there. So there's a train in the section ahead. So this is one of the. I don't remember having to wait the last time. I don't know how this fits in around the dynamic traffic, like the other traffic on the line. If it's one of these ones, well, if you missed the slot they intended you to take, have you buggered it up, or let's have a look, see what we can spot. So there's something. Oh, there we go. No need to panic. Yeah, when I did this as a dry run earlier on, I was on the other side of the tracks when this train came through. I'd already made it down to the siding, and then I had to sit and wait for this boy to come by. And there should be a freight train somewhere on the freight loop as well. If we go and look up on the goods loop right now, there's a freight train coming down, and then once that passes, we will be cleared onto the main line, I hope. Like I say, when I did this earlier on, I was actually further through the scenario than I currently am. You would think they would account for the fact that sometimes people will be a bit dim and slow and possibly having all sorts of accidents on their way up here. If it's a truly dynamic signalling system, it should accommodate us. Meanwhile, we pop out and have a little look. And my route again, I've got the wrong set of lights on as well. I should actually have the tail lights all on at this point. There are no red lights that I can see, just white ones. So I don't know what the origin of these things are. I mean, it looks absolutely ancient. So it's probably pre-health and safety. We'll just put them all on while we're shunting. Let's just check our progress here. Right, okay, so that thing's coming down round the loop. This is this is sometimes a part of freight ops and shunting in real life, is especially when you're crossing main lines. To do it is a lot of standing around twiddling your thumbs waiting for a slot. In reality, I think they would probably, I don't know, maybe they would be able to get you through in this sort of time. Sometimes looks like it's closer on the map than it actually is. But of course that freight loop actually goes round a longer way. Then it's 40k or something down off that junction, so it's much slower than the stuff coming down the passenger loop. And again, by being on the second man side, we can just lead out the window and you should be able to see the ground signals, which you wouldn't be able to see from the seat. And there we go, we've got a white signal now. Clear to proceed. As we're just using the keyboard to turn off the headlights that are currently at the back of the train. I don't actually know what the regulations would be about that. But, do though is we will pick it up a wee bit, because we are going across a main line. Do you know why it's doing that? It's because I've switched the running thing into shunting rather than long distance. I bet you that's got something to do with it, right? We'll see if we can just coast clear of the main line before we try and sort anything out. Oh, I can just let the brakes out straight away, actually. Ah, right. Yeah, I was trying to run it up to like 40 to nip across that junction, and then remembered I'd stuck it into shunting rather than long running. The top speed of the thing, absolutely flat out, is only about 60, so that's probably popping it. So Samson asks, what do I think of the new Isle of Wight? I like it as well, man. Yeah, I agree it's a short route, but I enjoy it. It's something a little bit different. It makes interesting use of the groundwork they laid with the underground stuff. I know it's Rivet that did it rather than DTG, but come on, it's a collaborative effort, and we all know it. And yeah, quite a bit of fun with it. Had a couple of issues that needed sorted out. I think they have addressed by and large most of them. I've had my 20 quid's worth out of it easily. And it is a route that I can see myself playing again and again. We slid a bit further past because I locked the wheels there. It's so easy to lock the wheels. So just double checking that the rear coupling bar is down. That's fine. We'll use the the direct brake, rather. Even the direct brake is manual lapping on this. You just simply open or close the lever and then put it back to hold when the brake cylinder pressure is where you want it. It's all about the brake cylinder pressure. And these new gauges make all this business so much easier when you can actually see what the pressure in the pipe is rather than just some arbitrary point on a gauge with no scale on it, you know. So we've auto coupled there. Sweet. That didn't happen before, possibly because I absolutely whacked it. So what I'm just going to quickly do, pop the gear selector back into long distance because we're crossing the main line. Just put the brake back into handle off. The holding position. Okay, rear of view. And we'll sit in the driver's seat for this one. We don't need the rear lights. Oh, those bloody light things aren't going to go away, are they? Oh, there they go. So it might need a little bit of oomph to get underway. For some reason, the brake cylinder doesn't want to empty. I just need to check the handle positions over here. Something's gone wrong. Handle off. Hold. That's off. It's like one of my handles is still on. That's weird. I seem to have broken it, guys. Try just cycling them on and off, see if that clears it. Nah, it's still got like 1.1 in the line, but it goes. You can actually drag it with the brake cylinders under pressure. And I can get the pressure to drop if I hold the lever down, I just can't get it to stay down. So I've clearly broken something. Or it just takes a really long time for the brakes to charge properly after you cook up a consist. But there we go, it goes back up to like 0.7. I can outpull it, easily outpull it. There we go. I seem to be able to drain it eventually, or maybe it's just something to do with this Stone Age braking system. I have not read any manual or anything like that. I just started playing with it, so I am kind of just figuring it out here. Haul this over onto the other side, because I think there is more traffic due through shortly as well. I mean, that's the brake cylinder at 0 now. That took ages. I mean, I could expect that on like a 3 mile long, 7,000 ton American train where it just takes so long for the air to pass through the pipes. But I mean, this is like 5 wagons. That seems like an awfully long time. So this is a go via rather than a stop. Pick it up a little bit. Now that I've got the long running gear on, we'll try not to hang around so much. Doesn't have as much grunt as the 204 does. This is a pure shunter, I think. Whereas the 204 is at least adapted from, I mean, it started its life as a thing called the V100, and it was a mainline locomotive. Whereas this, I think, was purpose built for the job. I'm actually supposed to go through these at about 25, I think, but we'll be a bit cheeky and just nosh on through. Let's just clear the junction, and then a little bit, try and keep it around 2. Once they take hold, they're effective. They just take a minute to bite. points should set themselves. This is a fully controlled yard. There are a couple of little bits off on the extreme edge at the start of scenarios where you might have to set a couple of things yourself. Hey, Spurs Reading, how are you, man? Good to see you. I hope you're doing good, man. I'm doing just grand, thank you. Fumbling my way through through the new toy. So back into handle off for you. Handle off for you, or hold, or whatever we're calling it. And it's that lever. Over to this side. Let's just pop our head out. Check. What's up ahead? Okay. Sometimes just takes a little bit of oomph to get it moving. When I had it in the shunting gear, it actually took off easier. So those gears do actually seem to make a difference. And I should perhaps have it in pure shunting mode. So I'm having to give it almost full beans just to get it going. Perhaps someone shall ask that question tonight. Never really noticed the level of detail sometimes on these. Although I'm not completely convinced, although they say preserved collection is being brought as is, I am not convinced they haven't given a few wee things a facelift and a touch up here and there. Right, this is silly. We should be going faster than this. And I think it might be because I've got that. Let's try changing the gear. Let's put it back to shunting. Okay. Then I seem to have completely knackered it. Let's kill the power entirely. Ah! Ha! Forgot that button. Right. Dar. Oh my word. See, it's a new button in a German train. And they're really, really complicated anyway. And they put new buttons in it and they confuse me with it. Oh, God. Oh, lordy. Such a noob. What do I think of it so far, asks Spurs Redding. Actually, I'm really enjoying it. It's it's a very hands-on drive. It's everything works a little bit differently to how we're used to, especially for like shunt locomotives. It's got a really odd throttle system. It's got brakes from the 101 but more complicated, and it's alright. It's pretty good. Loved like all the little details and stuff. It looks the part. It's already made a complete tit of me 4 times on the stream tonight. We've only been here 40 minutes. That's got to be worth like 11 quid alone, surely. It's the sort of, what I'll say for it, it's the sort of locomotive, and if you've played Train Sim World for long enough, you'll know what I'm sort of trying to get at here. Sometimes you can jump in a train, and because you're familiar with other trains on the same network, or from the same country, you can kind of just figure it out by pressing buttons, and you can take off quite happily, if you're an experienced enough, player. How many of us, when the Southeast Coastway came out, the Southeast, well, the Brighton one, when that came out, how many of us just jumped straight into that because we already knew it inside out and upside down from the 166 and the 43. We knew how to do the signals in the AWS, and it took us like 3 seconds to figure out what all the really obviously marked buttons did. It was brilliant. And then there's ones like this, that even though you know everything about this particular route, and it's even fairly similar in a lot of ways to other machines you've driven, it just completely baffles you to begin with. This is one of those ones. This is one of the baffling ones. But that's half the fun, is figuring it all out. And then when you get good at it, going back and going, alright, now let's see if we can do this in 2/3 of the time, or half the time, or in my case, twice as long as it took me when I did it this afternoon. It's all good. But if you like shunters, and you like the German routes, then yeah, there's plenty of content with it as well. By the way, it's got a decent number of timetabled services, and I think there's 2 or 3 scenarios with it. I need to go and double check. I don't like to go into the scenario bit on stream when the content's just brand new though, because I don't like to spoiler it, because that's where a lot of the really cool stuff is. I think the only time I ever did that was when we found the big blazing fire near Hagen, simply because that was like such a big deal in terms of what else they could do with that kind of effect, Bop. There we go. So now that we've formed that, all we actually have to do now is dump it. Auto coupling for the win. So let's just make sure our handles are in the correct positions. Hold, and whatever the middle one is, because we're now going to be going forward. Sit in the seat. This is going to be the new habit to get into. We've all got our PZB habits. Most of us will have our LZB habits and our CIFA habits and our AWS habits. Now you need to get into your press the button to make it go habit. And all things being equal, this should be just fairly painless. There we go. Lovely. Alright, we've only got a 500 meter run, but I do have it in long running mode, so There we go, I just blew the brakes again. So, I mean, we got up to about 25, 30 kilometres an hour before the brakes blew on there. That's not incredibly fast, but when you think about how fast steam engines generally go, we all tend to think of trains as, 150 mile an hour monsters, but that's a new idea. If you wanted to do like a rural branch line with steam engines, how fast do you need the wheels to be able to turn? Really? You wanted to do something from like the 1910s or the 1920s. Spurs Reading, does the 363 go to that big power station at all? I suspect we can take it there if we did you could make a. You could probably use the. Could you use the scenario planner? Does the scenario planner even work with the old content? Actually, I don't know. There's not, as far as I can see, a timetable service down there. But again, I would go back to my point. I've not looked at the scenarios yet, so I don't know if there might be a scenario involving the power plant. There's oil tanks, I think. Well, look like oil tanks. They might be cement wagons or something, but they look like oil tanks. So I don't know if that's a thing. I have literally just done like the startup tutorial for this. You wouldn't think it. I did go through it at lunchtime, and I actually did about half of this service before I had to go out earlier on. And I think I did the one where you run it down. We ran it down from Hagen to the yard. I did that myself when I was just having a wee play lunchtime. But I'll have a look once we're done with this. Oh, stop! Don't. Just back over to this side so that I can see any ground signals properly. I totally got away with that. Nobody saw what we just did there. Slick. I think I might have to actually draw up to the signal to trigger the next bit. Get on the way again. Certainly a challenging little devil to drive, says Spurs Reading. Well, that's not one of the many words I shouted at it earlier on this afternoon, but definitely a good YouTube friendly way of describing it, yeah. There's me getting my brake and my throttle mixed up. I've been playing mostly with the keyboard actually in recent weeks, so I'm used to using my left hand for the power and my right hand for the brakes now. So among the many other things I've got to concentrate on in a brand new complicated old diesel thingamabobby is remembering which one's my left hand and which one's my right hand, basically. Oh, traffic! I like doing shunting in in this line because my experience of it so far is this does feel like an actual working railway line, like a busy line. There's stuff going on. I'll pop the brake again. Right, I'm going to have to definitely make a point of getting onto that. Watching the DTT stream tonight and see if they explain what the hell that is, because that is getting annoying, and I'm not even certain why I'm triggering it. I'm just trying not to hang around too much. And then anyway, I've taken my time a little bit and faffed about somewhat doing this, but I mean, that was what? Oh, it's about 40. Was it about 6 AM this scenario starts? So that's a good 40 minutes worth of play out of one thing on the timetable so far, and I don't actually think we're done, if I'm being honest with you. So it's not like one of my complaints about the 08 and the 09, especially on Tees Valley, was, you know, your 4 or 5 timetabled things or whatever it was. I'll go back and check at some point. It was just 10 or 15 minutes of literally move from this side into this side, and that was about it. And you're so far removed from the main line that you don't really see anything that's going on there either. And that's I'm not sticking the boot into DTG necessarily when I say that. That's just the nature of that bit of the railway. But here, I mean, it does feel like you're working away right next to a busy line. So what way are we going now? Carrying on going backwards. Juice. Okay, Spurs Reading, good to see you, man. Catch you again soon-ish, probably. No doubt. You take care, my man. Alright, we're just going to dive over the line here, and I'm going to try and do it without blowing this brake out again. I really, really wish I knew what was doing that. There, see, the engine surges, and that's usually where the thing blows off, but I caught it that time. It's clearly just my driving technique. There is obviously, as was often the way with these old machines, a particular technique you needed to know, and because I've just jumped straight in, I'm showing myself up for the clueless noob that I am. Ah, yes, running out of memory on consoles, adding trains. That, now there was a stream just the other night I watched. I have been watching quite a lot of them recently, I have to say, partly because I'm keen to know what, if any, news they've got about that. Where they seem to be at with that is, a big part of the problem is that the Unreal Engine itself has loads of stuff in it that they don't actually need for train sim, but it's there as part of the engine, and that is using up absolutely buckets of memory. So what they're in the process of doing is basically trimming away all the bits of the engine that they don't need. How long it's going to take, they've not said. But I mean, they're on a nice little number here on the PlayStation and the Xbox. There's absolutely no way that they're not going to fix that. Right. Make sure that handle's on. Make sure that one's on hold. This happened before when we coupled up to something. It took just ages for the brakes to charge, so I'm just going to try and do it a bit it took a few goes to get the brakes to release fully the last time. We're only going, we're drawing just a little bit forward anyway, so I'm not worried too much about the brake. Oh, put too much pressure on. Stephen Jack, hello my friend, long time no see, hope you're well, man. If it's a question about this thing, then I'm definitely not the man to ask. No way. I broke it again. Nah, the ground signal up ahead's fine, so let's just yeah, fuck the brakes, let's just drag them away with us. Question is a general one about TSW2. Fire away, my man, I'll do my best. Oh, let's see if I was alive. Away brake cylinder pressure. So how is it with the new HUD controller if you're a seasoned player? The new HUD took a little bit of getting used to. But all this stuff down here, I couldn't go back now. Having the actual numbers, the pressures in there, as opposed to just a white line pointing into the middle of a gauge that has no scale or markings on it, is much more helpful. This side needs a little work, but they are aware of it. They've tidied a few things up already. This stuff down here is much better. It's much more obvious what brake you're using and where every handle is without having to start looking around the cab. So to me, just by the same way a driver can tell by the position of his hands where his handles are, you can tell at a glance down there where your handles are. I love it. When it comes to the new controller system, I don't know, I just stuck with classic, to be honest. I need my clicky cursor. Cannot not have the clicky cursor, and it doesn't work in new controller modes, so I've never used it. And I have also been using the keyboard a lot more recently, and so I can't really say much for the new layout. People are using it though, so they must like it. And I'm afraid there is a bit of truth in that, in so much as not that they run worse necessarily, it's mostly sound, the sound mixing, and they've said again that they're it's a change from the old engine to the new engine, the new version of Unreal. Just the way that it processes the sound makes it sound a little bit different. They basically balanced it for a different game engine, and this one has buggered some of that up. They have fixed some of them, they're working their way through them. None of them are particularly game breaking, and some of them, I have to say, I had a go of Great Western Express last night because it just came out, and if anything they've improved that, and they've also put stuff beside the line that wasn't there before. Nothing particularly exciting. There's a few more bits of detail. There's a construction site that you go past up at the Reading end that used to just be 2 huts and some planks of wood, and now it's all sort of fenced in and surrounded with high-vis orange netting and stuff. Don't go getting excited for any more overhead catenary or anything like that. It's nothing radical. It's tiny wee things that I've noticed. It may even be stuff that was just patched into the route in the original version later, because I didn't play it much towards the end. If you can put up with a few sound issues, it's fine. It's fine, mostly. There are 1 or 2 trains that are not that great, but they're ones that selfish bastard me, they're ones that I don't drive very often, so I haven't lost a great deal of sleep over them. It's the 146, is it? It's the 146. It's the passenger one that's got the working FIS system on it. It came with main spec. That sounds absolute dog shit. It sounds really bad. Other than that, the 185 could do with a bit of work. What we've mostly lost is the rail noise isn't as good. A lot of the rail noises are being lost in the mix, but again, they have acknowledged it, and they've got a team making their way through that stuff. Haven't they found any faults with any of the new sounds though, I have to say. Scenario planner, no idea. I've barely touched it. There you go. Sorry. ZG68, hi man. Good to see you. Welcome. Apart from the 3 new trains, what's different with TSW2? Not a silly question at all, mate. Although it is one that I just gave the answer to. But essentially, some sound effects are a bit buggered on your old routes. It's mostly track noise and engine volume balances are all a bit skew-iffy. There's only a couple of trains I would say it renders really not fun to play though. The HUD, if I had to sum it up, it took me about a week to get used to, and I wouldn't go back because there is far more information laid out in a far easier to read manner once you've got the hang of it. And are the graphics better? No, they're different in very subtle ways, but I wouldn't say they're better, and it's really difficult to describe it until you actually see it for yourself. It's really all it is the colour blending's a little bit different, you know, contrast levels and the exposure and things like that, whatever you call them in the video game development world. It's more like somebody's just played with the colour settings on your telly than anything else. It's not worse though, which is the main thing. So we're going back the way now to hook up to something else. Let's just pop our camera up the back. I'm not going to bother. Am I going to bother? Yeah, might as well go in. So we'll put the handles back to the central positions and unselect that control. Select this as the active. We'll stick our head out the window so we can see the signal, which I think is currently red. But that might not necessarily be for us, because I think we might be going up in the side. And oh, there we go, we've got a white. How long is this thing again? This is something I really like. This helps a lot with shunting. I can stop and see exactly how long my train is at any time. So we're 129.1 meters long. We can take off 5 or 6 for the train ahead of us and another few for the bit behind us, and basically we can call the rake 120 meters. Which means, because I know the distance to go up here, so about 700, so it's really 720 meters. We want to be stopped, and that says about 120. I'm just waffling now. The short version of all that is that screen lets you shunt from the cab. By and large, as long as you can see the signals, you can do most of your shunting from the cab now, which is terrific. Because I know as much as possible. I do tend to do it. I've played with the 204 when it came out, and I've been mucking around with the other shunters, and I really on the what's the American one we got? The CSX Heavy Hull. I know that's not what it's called now. I do all the shunting from the cab by and large. Maybe just fire down the back end to do the last few feet or the last few meters. Hey Matthew Guilford, welcome man, good to see you. Founded this locomotive using the direct brakes. Oh, there we go, I've popped my brakes. This seems to happen frequently. I think the only conclusion I've come to about the brakes is that I don't really understand the brakes, and so I'm going to be watching their stream tonight, which I'm assuming they're doing, and hopefully they'll actually tell us how to use the damn things. I could probably read the manual, but I don't know how it really is with this thing in real life. I never even heard of the thing until I saw it coming to Train Sim World 2. Behind the cab seat. I don't actually know. I mean, this thing up here, I don't really know what any of these things are, to be honest with you. And sorry Zedgy, the scenario planner, I don't know anything about it because I've not used it so far. That's all really. Played about with it very briefly and came to the conclusion that it really wasn't. Aye. It needs a bit of work before I'll be using it. PZB routes are all still fine, and in so much as they haven't broken any PZB. The driving feeling is definitely better. Into the physics are much better. Funny enough, Stephen Jacques says it looks like a cross between the 204 and a Gronk. Very first thing I said at the beginning of the stream was, if you told somebody, imagine a Gronk but over-engineered by the Germans, this is exactly what you'd get. And I stress again that I do mean over-engineered in the best possible way, because, well, there's a reason that theirs are the ones that drive the most. Where the hell am I going? I'm supposed to be coupling up to something, and oh no, we are on the right track. I also seem to be accumulating brake cylinder pressure again. There'll be a lever in the cab or something that I'm supposed to set that I haven't. because I don't know about it. This is, see, as soon as I take the power off, I'm going to start slowing down, because I've got a bit of brake going on here. I can't get it to stay bloody well off. So we're about 100 metres, the back of our consist's about 100 metres away from the one we want to couple up to now. Oh, there we go. Now I get rid of the brake pressure. I don't even know if there's going to be a physical release of TSW2. I'm not sure they've committed to that yet. Now, if I've done that properly, there shouldn't be much of a gap down the back. God damn it, the brakes are coming on again, so when it does finally bite, it's going to leap backwards on. Oh lordy. Right, there we go. So almost straight away off the power and just let it. Oh god. There's definitely a knack to this, and I ain't got it yet. Right, hopefully that's close enough. Yeah, it is pretty generous with how close you have to be. Cool, that was an effort. Where's the coupling thing? So just off, there we go. We're uncoupled. Let's just make sure the levers are all off skate. Get the other side. Just go that way now. Oops. So many brakes. Oh, I've not put one of those handles in the right position. Which one is it? It's that one. Right, now let's try. There we go. So if your other handle's not in a safe position, it just won't let you use the one on the side you've moved to. So there are some primitive safety interlocks on this. Ah, so there is. Ah, cool. I didn't know they were doing that. Ah, well, that's good. You might. I don't know if the disc version, if it's only like the TSW 2020 people, but there are some issues with some disc players having to get like key codes to get their old preserved collection stuff because it doesn't recognise it properly. But I think they put stuff in the forums about that. And then it's only heavy freight. It's basically just heavy freight to come. As far as I can think of. Heavy freight, and then they just got to sort out the memory issue. There we go, British Railways. It's at least it's not a clown car horn. bit of oomph because we're going across the main line, but I'll probably just end up blowing my brakes on again. In fact, I think we're just gnashing up this side in here. So that's about an hour and a bit this has been going for, so that's a decent wee run. I still don't know if it's over because I didn't get this far. Stop. Stop. Oh, where's it making me go now? Oh, no, didn't want to do that. So many levers. Handle off. That's alright. Problem is if you don't change sides, I don't know where all the signals are yet. For all the time I've spent playing Reverse Ignored, I've not spent that much time in the sidings. So I'd rather be able to see where the ground signal. I'd rather be sort of looking for one that isn't there than miss one that is, because I couldn't be bothered just changing the sides and the nose gets in your way. You can only lean your head out the window, by the way, on the side that you're sitting on. There's no cheating. You have to get up and move. Alright, so yeah, I would think they've got it all sorted out for. I think it was, yeah, I think the problem was for people who'd owned some of the routes on the old routes on disc. If you bought the disc version of Great Western and Rapid Transit and stuff, it's dependent on what version of the old game you had. You might need to get the access code, but I know they were trying to get that all sorted out so that it was just there. Oh, gone too far, gone too far. Stop. I don't want to put too much pressure in, otherwise you lock the wheels. Ah, we went just a little bit too far. I'm not going to change sides just to nudge it forward a bit. Okay, so that felt like really hard work. I'm not going to lie, and it went horribly wrong a few times. I reckon all things, if that went a bit more clockworky smoothie, that would have been about an hour, and I think an hour is actually not too bad for a shunting activity. Aye, I'll take that. Good lord, it sounds like the Battle of the Somme outside my window. Oh, hang on, it's the 5th of November, isn't it? How did I forget that? Okay, that's probably a good place to call it, so we can all go and look at whichever one of our neighbours is launching rockets off. We can all go and enjoy that. And I'm going to get something to eat before Dovetail do their stream later on. I'll be watching that. Hopefully we'll learn something useful about the engine as opposed to how to bring it to a crash and halt, as I've demonstrated for you. So let's just we'll have a quick look at what you get with the thing before we end the stream totally. Main menu. It just gives you an idea of what you get for your 12 quid if you do decide to buy this pack. München Augsburg, seen as it came up on the loading screen. I have to say that is potentially the best route in the game if they can fix this memory problem. I think it will be. So, explore. So if we go to the timetable and pick the 363, there's so there's a fair number of things to do there. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Ooh, lucky 13. So there's 13 altogether. Hohenlimberg. I know that's one of the stations down the Herbeck Cement Works, Boyle Wagon Yard, which I think is where we might have just been, Hagen Freight Yard, Boyle Wagon Yard, Shunter Move. And if they all take as long as that one did, that's no bad at all. And if we just back out once more, have a look in scenarios. Yeah, Zedgy, if you love trains, man, I give this game a hard time. I slag off the bits that are broken. In fact, I'm really quite horrible about it sometimes. But I love the game. I've still played like hundreds and hundreds of hours of it because I love trains. If that sounds a bit like you, then it's going to be like, what is it, 25, 30 quid well spent? 40 quid well spent? It's not that much, is it? It's... yeah. It's not going to convert someone who doesn't like trains, but if it's already your cup of tea, it's going to be awesome. So there's Herbeck Cement Works, shunting one at Hohenlimberg. I'm not even going to try, and I do apologise for murdering that. And doing what looks like something very similar to what we just did up at Boyle. But of course, the scenarios are always where the sort of the scripted, cool and interesting things happen. So they're worth a look, even though it looks like, oh, just doing that. What I did in the timetable mode. That's often not quite the case. Did they add any track for this loco on RSN? Nah, they just built it down. They just used what's already there. This is the aye. We're not adding anything to the preserved collection. It's coming as is, apart from the stuff we sell you for it afterwards. Mixed messages, guys. As far as I can tell, they've not actually changed anything or added anything new. No. And we'll just back out of there. So for the peeps that are still on 2020 and are asking about is it worth upgrading, well, I mean, you get ignore the top two, you get everything from Sandpatch down. If you already own any of this stuff on Train Sim 2020, Train Sim World 2020, oh god no, never make that mistake on the internet, Jesus. Any of this stuff that you already owned for Train Sim World 2020, you'll get. And I mean, everything's there. We'll just jump in and have a quick look. It's not just the basic route they've put in. They have brought over any DLC that you had. If you had the 31 or the 20, that's also available. And that's likewise pretty much every other route. The only thing I'm not sure is if they fixed the whatchamacallit train, the excursion. Let's just quickly have a look at that. I'm curious to see if the excursion trains. Oh, guys, the excursion trains are back on this. Yeah. Alright. That's made me a happy boy. Unfortunately, the 47 needs a little bit of rebalancing in the old sound department, because that beautiful, lovely, high-pitched whistling scream that it does at the top end is just gone. It it's no very great from outside, especially. I haven't done the 45 yet, but aye, that goes back to some of the sound issues. But they have said they're aware of them, and they're yeah, we'll see. Sometimes they fix stuff, sometimes they don't. If it happens, it happens. Still going to play the shit out of the game anyway, and we all know it, don't we? Right. Anyway, that's getting on for more than enough from me. And to be honest, I'm starting to get a bit hungry anyway. So, thanks very much, guys, for joining. It's always great to hang out with you while I talk, write, and play with pretend trains. And I'll hopefully catch you guys fairly soon, time allowing. Obviously, things are all a bit crazy just now. There is no regularity to the streams, and I make no promises as such, but hopefully it won't be too long till the next one. See you later, guys. Cheers.